Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's another game, it's another you, it's another me. Yes, the multiple universes theory is still going strong here in the bottom side of the map. We do have our blue Odin player going by the name of Karma. Now, this is not a smurf like everybody wants to say. Everyone's just smurf. You know, this is a very, very strong player. He's had teachings from the wise man himself, the Mister, and he is going to be showing us his Odin today. But he is going up against none other than one of the most powerful Poseidon players currently playing the game. His name is Mosca, and he is in the red color today. And we're on the map Ghost Lake. So, let's start off with what's going on here. Well, Mosca, Poseidon player, playing against Odin. This matchup, I think a lot of players are starting to say, not even just Poseidon versus Norse, which has always been a little bit tricky, but Norse versus Greek in general right now, I have to say, does feel a little bit challenging on the Greek side. Now, Greek does have some advantages over, say, Atlantean. You know, you can even play a strong Greek game against the Chinese. Against the Egyptian, it feels like you're sort of hanging on for dear life until you either have to hit the resign button or you win. But against Norse, I have had some people messaging me, scratching their heads about how to take this, how to approach this matchup. So instead of trying to scramble through a whole bunch of my own theory, let's watch how the Master does it. Let's watch how Mosca does it. Mosca here, going to be advancing nice and quick with his Poseidon. He's already got his temple up. 2 villagers getting that favor, and he might be going for some centaur. Nope, he's pulling the villager off, and he's just moving back over to the gold mine, and he is going for a very quick Hermes here to kick this game off. Let's have a little quick look at the relics and see what's going on. We've got Dwarven Horseshoes. This relic is absolutely gigantic for this matchup because it's going to push the Hippias or the raiding cavalry above the speed of the other by a significant amount. So yeah, this one here, you can't be letting the Poseidon get this relic because this is going to change the dynamic of this matchup quite a bit. The dynamic is that, well, I want to raid with my Hippias, but if I send them out to go and raid, then the raiding cavalry will be able to pick them off one by one. And you're going to be very, very sad. But if you have this relic, all of a sudden the Hippias are going to be the faster ones, and then the raiding cavalry are going to be the units that are going to get chopped down, chased down, chopped down, and lose their numbers and all the other good stuff. Over here we've got Gugnir, Odin Spear as well. Just going to boost up those hoplites, another really nice one, and Anvil of Hephaestus. So some incredibly good relics here. Let's have a quick look at what these players have actually spotted at the moment. Mosca has not seen the relic, and neither is Karma. What has Mosca seen? He's seen the main base, and he's going to be going for some early pressure with the center shenanigans. This is obviously very stock standard. I do feel like this is one of those things you kind of want to do with a Greek against the Norse, is just to get a little bit of damage done early game if you can. Because, you know, you're not going to be able to get much damage after the early game as the Ursa comes out. Centaur needs to navigate around the map, and beautiful building positioning here from Karma locks that off. He wants to chuck a wall up over here as well as the Atalanta coming through. The Centaur going to just get another little bit of damage done onto this side. Like, realistically here, if I'm Karma, I'm almost thinking, do I really care here? As long as I don't lose a villager like this one's very low, do I really care? I'm just going to send my Valkyrie over here immediately and just heal everyone up. So, yeah, just keep garrisoning, pop back over here. Now the Valkyrie comes in, heals everyone up. Does take a little bit of damage on the idle time, but doesn't lose any villagers, so no problems there as double Great Halls now coming up. Up onto the top side here. No stables just yet from Mosca. He looks like he's going for a town center, which does make sense in this situation. He's got some nice hunt on top of this position. He doesn't have a lure yet, but that's fine. He's got the lure in his main base, and he's got double gold mines in his main base as well. But this will mean that Karma is going to be able to put some pretty big pressure back over onto Mosca. So things that Mosca's going to need to do is make sure that his base is incredibly well defended, no real weaknesses anywhere, try and mine out as much of this gold mine as he possibly can before migrating over onto this one and seeing what he can do. As the Raven coming up here to check things out. One option as well for Karma at the moment. He did go double Great Hall, so this means it's going to be a little bit tricky. But one option for Karma may be to just go for his own second town center. Maybe go for the closer one or something and secure this position and start looking to put more pressure on. Maybe get out a couple of raiding cavalry and then do that with Herser or something is another option. But nonetheless, he needs to either start getting some good raids in or get a town center. You can't really just sit there, do nothing, mass up an army, and then break through a situation like this, which Mosca's got. Mosca's going to be dropping the stable. Both players have still missed this relic, and I thought this relic, they've seen it. Both players have seen it, and now we see the Herser coming up here. But I thought that would be a must grab. But nonetheless, push off the berries for the time being, over onto this backside. And it looks to me, excuse me, it looks to me like Karma is well and truly ready to go. He says, I want to put pressure on, but he hasn't been able to find anything just yet. We see the goats already at the top side here for Mosca. Villagers on the wood line. And all the other good stuff. Another stable to come up now for Mosca at this point. There's a raiding cavalry coming over here. He can kind of just swing in underneath the town center for the time being. There's no crenellations. So it could work as long as he attacks him from the right angle. He won't take too much damage from the town center, but Mosca Karma, just checking out, make sure there's nothing really going awry here. He could forest fire this spot, and then he can start to lock off some wood lines or something like that. Alternatively, opening up the main base. There's nothing really there to open up. I love the building positioning, not using the forest as a part of his building wall. That's going to be huge for him, as Karma's still trying to just get in here. He's now getting walls up all over the place. A third Great Hall actually coming down, as he's going to be moving over onto this caribou here. He needs to get a wall up onto this side to make sure that that's really nice and safe, as the Aurochs getting taken out, Boar getting taken out, and all the other good stuff. And now Mosca's main base here, going to be taking just a little bit of damage. There is that one centaur there with 64 HP. That's huge. Because at least he can sort of push back, but gets a little bit of damage done onto the stable before retreating. As the Atalanta here spotted 6.3 speed raiding cavalry, and a dream here for Karma, as he's going to try and prevent this bad girl from getting back home, but not quite able to do so. And Karma still kind of struggling to get in and get any damage done. Maybe a forest fire over here to just unlock this could be an option, as he decides, well, I mean, this forest fire is a defensive little position, and I guess the forests here will get a little bit of damage done onto these stables. It's just not that much. A bit surprised to see him do this. Obviously, it opens up the other stable to get targeted down, but Karma is really trying to put this pressure on. Look at this from Mosca. The house is behind the stable as well, as a couple of militia are going to pop out here. Meanwhile, raiding cavalry around to the top side, still trying to just get in, get damage done. But at this point, these raiding cavalry are caught out of position. Picking off 2 villages here for the loss of all of these raiding cavalry is not something that Karma can really afford to do. As he dives in, villagers making a break for the tower here. The Hippias on this side here getting some really good damage done. Town center, a huge amount of defensive pressure there being applied onto those raiding cavalry. We do see a random longhouse getting dropped down into the main base here from Karma. This is old school style. When the ceasefire comes in, you start dropping walls and buildings, and you can get some good damage done. But Karma says it's just time to go here. A stable getting dropped down onto this side to just at least deny the units from coming through. Is there any watchtowers coming in? It doesn't look like Mosca can yet afford it. He definitely needs it. It's super well worth it at this point, as Karma just says, I got myself somewhat of an advantage here. Let me break in. I don't know if he's actually going to be able to do it. Look at the difference on military. It's pretty close. And on top of that, Mosca has got himself 700 food in the bank, 200 gold in the bank. And he's going to be able to get to the next age really, really shortly here. As the throw on action gets taken out. House is up onto the top. Mosca's economy absolutely huge now. He does have to go onto farms. And this is the biggest advantage which Karma's still got going for him. Hasn't managed to pick off any villages. Or many villages. But onto farms now will mean effectively that Mosca is spending a whole bunch of resources which Karma doesn't have to spend. At least not for some time. There's a fair amount of hunt on the map over here. Over here, there's berries as well. Berries up here. And all the other good stuff. Marker coming up for Karma. As he's going to have to think about next age here shortly. And Mosca just continuing to get his houses up. His defensive buildings up. The Hippias are going to be searching somewhere to get something down. But look, this 6.9 speed rating cavalry. If Karma sniffs this out, all those Hippias are just going to die. But it looks like Mosca's managed to pull up to this top side. He's got an eye onto this hunt here, it looks like. As he's going to be swinging around here. Does see the units through the fog of war to some degree. But he'll be finding these villages onto this side as the army decides it's time to charge in. And Mosca pulling back into his main base. He's researching Spirited Charge here as well. As over onto this side, the village is now starting to go down. This is really, really difficult for Karma to make it work at the moment. Losing those villages is not something he can really do. Decides to turn around. No, he's still simply just grabbing that food. He's focused on the fight at hand here. As Karma knows if he can win this fight here, which is not looking like it's going too well, he will be able to gold starve on this front. One thing here that is really significantly missing from all the villages going down at the top. One thing here that's really significantly missing for Karma is the Herban. He is missing those Herban. That damage could be so helpful here. As Mosca has nearly 0 resources in the bank. He's got a lot of idle villages at the moment. Moving up to the top side to grab this gold mine. There is going to be that raiding cavalry up there just to check things out. It's nice sneaky movement from Mosca. You could also get a nice wall up here as well. Get that sorted out. More units spamming in onto this position here for the time being. Has a couple of villagers getting sniped over here. Raiding cavalry doing what they can. Huge amounts of villagers onto the temple. As it's looking like the pressure which Karma is putting on is slowly starting to dissipate. A couple of villagers going down though into the main base, but in doing this, losing so much military can never be a good thing. I'm still surprised to see no watchtowers from Mosca. He's got the resources for it, and he just feels like it's just not worth it at the moment. I can guarantee you this is worth it. Well and truly. You get this tower here, this tower over here, this tower over here, all shooting units there. But nonetheless, Mosca is saying, I don't need it. I'm going to defend like a man. And he is defending very, very well here. Meanwhile, he's managed to find himself some Aurochs, throwing up the walls over here with all of his villagers. I love this. Because oftentimes you put one villager onto the walls, it takes so long for them to build. But if you put all the villagers here, get this wall up as fast as humanly possible, then all of a sudden your opponent just doesn't have the time to react to it. And sure, it's going to cost more to get the wall up, but you save that in spades with the fact that you're not going to take any damage here. As a cheeky little marker coming up for Mosca. The game to continue along here. Mosca's economy is huge. He's only in front by 10 villages, even after being on 2 TC for this long and taking out this raid. So Mosca has taken damage here, seriously. If Karma had this walled off and didn't lose the villagers on the berries, this game could be effectively equal here, to be honest. As Karma now moving up to the top side. Raiding cavalry, poking in, seeing no villagers over here. Looking to snipe a couple of low HP villagers underneath the town center. Picks off a couple as the Wall over here starting to go down. The villagers will come over and start repairing this one up. It looks like they're able to out-repair for the time being. As the 6.4 speed Hippias going to come over here, but those raiding cavalry can just zoom away, no problems, and then return back into the main base as Karma is really moving Mosca around on this defense. He's got a lot of really nice raiding parties going on, multiple groups of raiding parties here to get some serious damage done as the villagers getting idled a little bit, popping back in and out. And Mosca now coming back over here to try and hold on. Houses coming up and all the other good stuff is up to the top side here. Mosca comes with some more raiding cavalry. Now we finally see an attempt to get some Herdmen out. These things are really, really good. Now, obviously, Mosca here doesn't need to super worry about it at the moment, as long as he keeps getting out Centaur, but he's not getting any favor for the moment. So maybe he needs to start thinking about going into something other than Hippias here. Some Hoplites, some Toxotes maybe could be an option. But this is where things get tricky. If the Herdman numbers come out enough, then life can be pretty good here. As Hippias for Mosca getting damaged on as the wall's slowly starting to go down. But so far, so good for Mosca. He's managed to hold with this 2 TC advantage. As the Hippias over here getting taken out. And Mosca almost losing another Hippias. Not quite happening as he's going to be pulling back again. Population differential. Not looking too good here, actually, for Mosca in terms of military resource value. But his units are really, really powerful. But the question is, can Karma convert this military resource advantage into something? He's got to get some villager kills. It's now 20 villager differential here. 20, that's a huge amount of income to come through. As Mosca says, all right, time to bail from this gold mine. He can come back over here where he's rebuilt up his walls in the main base. Imagine forest fire right now, by the way. Just wanted to say that, that's all. It's been a while. As look at the Valkyrie now through for Karma. We're going to pop up onto this side. Find something here. As the village is retreating into the town center. Nice plays. We've got a couple of great halls, long houses coming up over onto this side to just deny this gold mine. There's already a Raven over here to look at this gold mine and everything else. And Karma's unrelenting pressure here is making life incredibly tough for Mosca, who does still have another gold mine. Will still be able to probably get up to full population. And even though the score right now looks like Karma has equalized, it's just a matter of time here. It's just a matter of time for Mosca to find an overwhelming advantage. So what can Karma do now to push himself in front or give himself something? You also have to still remember, I know I've said this already, but there's 26 farms here. Oh no, there's farms up over here. So the advantage on the no farming is no longer a thing. Nonetheless, houses coming down over here. Hippias clean up the buildings on this side, can return back over to this gold mine if need be. As the raiding cavalry sneaking into the main base, picking off a villager or two. As Mosca, nice defensive garrisoning there, but those villagers can't get into the town center. Got to be careful. As Karma pulling back, look at the differential now as it's 190 pop to 130. However, Karma is going Yord. We are also seeing Dionysus though. Both players going Heroic Age. Mosca will be needing some more favor to get that Thracian horses tech in. He's also going to have access to those, what are they called? Prodromus. He's going to have access to the Prodromus, which is going to be really, really strong. But look at those Valkyrie numbers. All Karma needs to do is pull the army one way and push him with those Valkyrie, and he can just sit underneath the town center and just get so much value here. But Njord is now in. Walking Woods is an option. Another great haul coming up here. The gold mine will expire, but like I said, this is a waiting game now for Mosca. The longer he waits here, the more resources he's going to have, the better position he's going to be. He's in front by 27 villagers. Meanwhile, up onto the top side, Walking Woods to come through. finally to take out the town center. As the Theseus here looking like it's going to be going down. But as the Hippias coming up onto the top side, Mosca will need to retreat. And the Walking Woods is going to be left there stranded, getting cleaned up. Town center survives. Thracian horses coming in. Heavy cavalry coming through as well. A couple of Goaty to start coming in as more raiding cavalry on the way. Do we see Mosca getting himself this Viking tech? This is one way in which Karma can try and equalize a little bit on the economy. He's got a lot of raiding cavalry, and this tech gives gold for all damage done. As now, Mosca says, let me try and pull out here. I'm going to pick off a couple of longhouses. No villagers on gold for the time being. Mosca is playing a really good game of, I don't need gold right now. I'll get it later. It's fine. But villagers falling over here, going to be garrisoning all those into the town center. As now the town center get targeted down. And now a couple of Hippias searching for some very important raids. As the dwarves walk straight into it. Wait, does he notice? He's checking one gold mine. Did he just miss? Villagers coming over onto this side. Into the main base as well. The raiding cavalry coming through. Will Mosca notice? He spots it now, but I don't know if he's actually going to be going there. He's focused too much on everything else. As villagers going down over here, the dwarves did notice it as he pulls away, but unnecessarily. As bronze gets dropped into the main base, Karma going for the kill. Yet again, there's watchtowers in, but there is also crenellations in as well, which means the town center is getting boosted damage. The towers are getting boosted damage. These raiding cavalry still don't have that Viking, so he's not getting that gold for this fight anyways. And he will have to retreat out of this position now in order to continue in this game. As now the Prodromus numbers are starting to climb, and Karma really needs to make a move away from these raiding cavalry here. As up onto the top side of the raiding cavalry, do manage to find a couple of villages. There are great Jarls, but still, Jarls just aren't going to be that important here. If the Prodromus keep coming out like they are, Karma does have a couple of units queued up. The Hippias over here still searching for some kills. The dwarves up onto the top gold by now. At least a little bit of income for Karma to come through. But Mosca looks like, yet again, he has managed to hold, but he's still lost a huge amount of villagers as things look like they've equalized to some degree in terms of economy. But population-wise, it's a different story. Hippias into the main base here. These things are strong. 188 HP, 6.4 speed, and they're going to be able to heal up on the damage they do to villagers. As Mosca needs to do something to answer this. Picks off a couple of straggly units over here. That's good. These dwarves sneaking elsewhere. Where is he going with those dwarves? Forward, it looks like. Maybe this gold mine. Out of sight, out of mind. Watchtowers is up now for Karma, but all of his villagers idled. That's so many. 20 villagers idled there, maybe more. As Mosca's now over onto this gold mine, he's getting his town center back up, which will give him good access to these farms. Yet again, it's a dead even game in terms of military here. As Mosca trying to hold on. Hippias coming back up onto the top side. This gold mine, yet again, out of sight, out of mind. Great move from Karma there. But will this get spotted? The Prodromus have got huge line of sight with that Lord of Horses tech, right? But he still misses it. Moving back over onto the right side. Still trying to find his way. Trying to snipe more dudes. More villages. He's all over the place. Sees every single gold mine. Except for the one that he needs to see. More Jarls coming in. Crenellations. Getting researched. Karma's days here are numbered, however. His economy shot. He's making 5 herdmen out, but at this point, does it matter? As the god of cavalry seemingly going to be able to hold on here against all of this pressure from Karma. He's still searching around. These units here for Karma will end up falling. And I think in this moment, there's not a whole lot that Karma's all in can do. We see a cheeky little Walking Woods as a desperation play. Not exactly sure what his plan is with those, but I mean, the best way I think to use this Walking Woods God power is to have a Raven in position. Like here, right? A Raven in position, and when you drag the army out, then send it in. As in that moment, Karma does decide to tap out. A really nice effort here from Karma trying to take down the King of Poseidon, but the King of Poseidon too strong in this one. Very, very close to going very, very south here for Mosca. I think there's a couple of things that Karma just did really well, but the one thing that he could not quite do fast enough was get up onto this position and lock this off. If you could have maybe got some units in, could have locked this gold mine off, and then Mosca would have been in for some trouble. But realistically, the big unit missing here from Karma was that Herdman. If he just got out an extra 10 Herdmen earlier on, I think things would have been very, very different. But a well-played game from Mosca. You see how well he sends just those little raiding parties off, even against the super fast raiding cavalry, which Karma had here. That little bit of raiding going on, picking off all those villages. Imagine had that wall been here. Karma would have been able to continue this pressure for so much longer. In fact, there was that moment where the villager differential was so close. Would have been a very different story. Take a look at the resource count. You can see how far in front Mosca is, even though he wasn't grabbing resources. He was idled for a lot of this game, but he had the villager advantage, and that was enough. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this one, please consider the follow on Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Yay!